welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It truly is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today as the Minnesota Vikings head into Dallas, Texas, into AT&T Stadium on a Sunday night game, which once upon a time felt like the kiss of death. But JJ McCarthy once again shows up and looks a lot more like a starting quarterback in the National Football League and quite possibly a 10th overall pick in the draft as the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football 34-26. In the words of, maybe somebody from Canada, not bad, eh? Yeah, not bad, eh? That would be like maybe a Wally Shaver when Wally Shaver, the play-by-play voice of the Minnesota Gophers, his father, of course, they're both from Canada, great play-by-play announcers. His father, the great Al Shaver, who used to broadcast North Star games. Yeah, not bad, eh? JJ McCarthy showed up to play again. Now, very early, he had the early interception. He spilled grape jelly all over his brand new jersey. But the good news is grape jelly is usually purple, so it didn't really matter. It got covered up because the rest of the way, JJ McCarthy was pretty good. He was hitting passes. He was making plays. He was not perfect. He was missing on a few, a little bit off here, especially for some stinking reason, like the urban legend we're going to come into this as early as we probably ever have on this show is that why the heck, for some reason, can't J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson connect? But the good news is the fact that McCarthy's doing this well, despite a situation where there's been 8 targets and 2 receptions for only 22 yards in this particular game with Justin Jefferson. A lot of misses there. A lot of misses. One of them was like that ball probably should have been caught, especially if it's Justin Jefferson. But yeah, if it was a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more of like a gentle play, I suppose, it could have been caught for a touchdown for Justin Jefferson. But yes, definitely an urban legend. But again, the good sign is once that clicks, holy cow, because Justin Jefferson's, all of a sudden TJ Hawkinson's becoming a factor again. Like he's coming back from the dead. That doesn't mean the Vikings won't cut him at the end of the year because of his cap hit, because they still probably will, but who knows. The chemistry's pretty much always been there with Jordan Addison, and clearly it is. Only 2 catches, 66 yards, 4 catches, 66 yards for Hawkinson. So what's all this 6 stuff? No, sorry. A 58-yard connection, which was gorgeous. Too bad it didn't wind up in the end zone. Would have been nice maybe if the ball was more in stride, and that's kind of been the conversation at times. Like, obviously, again, things aren't perfect yet, but clearly JJ McCarthy's taking steps forward, and this felt like a bigger one. Like last week, you called it a baby step because you're playing one of the worst teams in the league. This one, okay, so Washington's defense and Dallas's defense, not so good. Really, at the end of the day, Dallas is more of an offensive team, and of course, Micah Parsons is no longer there, and he's not playing for the Packers anymore this year either. We'll get to that in about 5 seconds here. A couple of huge names today going down with ACLs. Huge, as big as it gets type of names. Aaron Jones Sr. wound up with 3 catches for 31 yards. Good for him. Some big plays, generally speaking. Nice 18-yard connection to Mr. Oliver as well. But both touchdown passes thrown by JJ McCarthy were to Jalen Nailor, and that's a connection as well. Like when they thinking how the Vikings might not be able to keep Jalen Nailor depending on the strategies and such. Or maybe it's Jordan Addison. I mean, I think you want to keep all 3 of the guys you have. Like Justin Jefferson, obviously, is staying. He's making the big bucks. Jordan Addison, I think, is more than worthwhile keeping. Obviously, the chemistry with McCarthy is there. Same with Jalen Nailor. There's chemistry there. TJ Hawkinson, there's chemistry there. I think the way you keep TJ Hawkinson is restructure because, McCarthy, coming from Michigan, connected with his tight ends. Suddenly guys like Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson are becoming much more relevant than they had been. And it's kind of cool, at the end of the day. Obviously, it's good to use your tight ends because if they can catch the ball and make a play, then so frickin' be it. 29-yard connection along the way to TJ Hawkinson, which is a huge play to really put you in position to say, oh my God, we might actually win this game. And, we did. Or the Vikings did anyway. I shouldn't say we as much because I'm not on the team. You also got to see one of the greatest fakes of all time. It looked like McCarthy had handed the ball off. Next thing you know, he still had the ball. This was at the goal line, and literally just walked in. And he just walked in. He did the gritty a bit as he was going in, scoring a rushing touchdown, and you all saw it, and it was wonderful. C.J. Ham also powered his way in after, again, McCarthy and Jefferson just couldn't connect. Felt like a ball that Jefferson probably should have caught. Not the easiest catch in the world, especially, but again, you think it's Justin Jefferson. He's probably going to catch that one, and it went through, unfortunately. But on the next play, C.J. Ham right up the gut on his only rush for a touchdown. Duluth's finest, C.J. Ham, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. C.J. Ham, thank you very much. Yeah, I know, you get the idea who that is. But Vikings defense felt like it was gashed a bit today, a little bit, but of course Dallas is known for offense, not so much defense, because, well, they're, obviously Micah Parsons was traded to the Green Bay Packers at the beginning of the season and all of that good stuff. Packers look like a huge threat with their defense and their offense combination, that great pass rush, and then combined with the quarterback and everything. I mean, Packers are better than the Bears here, Packers are better than the Bears. They're going to compete for a Super Bowl and so on and so forth. Well, not so fast. Micah Parsons out for the season with an ACL. Are you kidding me? Nope. Micah Parsons is out for the season with an ACL. Am I celebrating it? Of course not. No, of course not. Do I like the Packers? Do I want them to win the Super Bowl? Of course not. Do I want them to win the division? Nah, I'd rather see the Bears win if it's not going to be us. Seriously, I'd rather see the Bears win if it's not going to be us. Like, it's better, the Bears than, say, the Packers. And even the Lions, they've had their chance. Maybe next year they'll be back at it again, winning 13 or 14 games. But clearly that's not the case this year. Losing to the Rams today, we'll talk about that in segment number 2. But I'm not celebrating Micah Parsons' injury. No. It sucked seeing him roll all over us and kick our butts and everything a few weeks back. And that was part of why McCarthy had just such an awful game against the Packers. Had the interesting comeback against the Bears and everything, but it all didn't work out at the end of the day. But wonderful to see JJ McCarthy. You're seeing a different guy. You're seeing a guy who's more confident. You're seeing a guy who's more competent, not just confident, but competent out there making these plays. And they look like quarterback plays. They look like adult plays. I posted something on Twitter late in the game how did I post it? And I'll repeat it again in segment number 3 because, I don't know, it's not about like, I just love what I said and I'm looking for attention, because I'm really not. I guess I put it on. I don't even have it up on the computer, but it's on the smart device here. My deep apologies. Come on. But it's just kind of a thought process that I do have right now. McCarthy shows up to play in these big moments when it's the big stage. He truly does. I was saying, call this a crazy statement, but if McCarthy is good enough to actually get the Vikings to the Super Bowl someday, they will win the game. If the Vikings get to the Super Bowl, the Vikings will win the game if McCarthy's the quarterback. Like, if he's good enough to get us there, the Vikings win. This guy shows up on the big stage, period. This guy shows up on the big stage. It's extremely exciting, and I'll say what Dave Hickey said for fan interaction, and really appreciate Dave Hickey out of Iowa. Had an interesting exchange this past week with one of the most loyal listeners of this show, and I just want Leland to know that I really appreciate him. Leland out of Iowa. I think he was frustrated thinking I was ignoring people when something else is going on. There was maybe a little bit of misunderstanding. So thankfully, I do believe we've come to an understanding on things. So yes, Leland's a very good guy coming in out of Iowa. But yeah, it was kind of like he thought I've been ignoring people and what the heck's going on. But I solemnly swear, hand on the Bible, or right hand up, and one hand on the Bible and the other hand raised. I solemnly swear I am not ignoring people, certainly not intentionally. The only way it might appear it is because maybe just stuff isn't coming through, or I'm just being stupid and missing it, which is a human thing. People miss things, which is, again, that doesn't make it okay, but it also is an honest mistake if I were to miss things. I'm not trying to miss anybody. If I get a post from Leland, I'm very happy. And I would like to read it on the show or listen to it if he happens to call in. I believe I had something from like a while back from Tanae Brown for the Timberwolves show, and I couldn't find it. Does that mean I was ignoring today and deliberately ignoring him because it's all about me? No, absolutely not. This show is not all about Palladino Joey or Joey White. This show is about, this show is about Mad Martin, Dave Vicky, Leland, Albertson, of course, Mark Carlson, big time. Gerald String, hell yes. Gerald String is huge, legend. This show is about JJ McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, you know what I mean? Jim Marshall, God yes, God rest his soul. That's what this show is about. I'm the least of the concerns of this show. I just happen to be the guy behind the microphone. But, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not the only Viking podcast out there. That's pretty obvious. And this is definitely not the largest Viking show out there either. So I have no right to be self-centered about anything. Zero right to be self-centered about, like it's all about me. I'm just doing my show and, I'll just read about 2 or 3 comments and ignore everybody else. No, that's not what's happening. So it's absolutely not what's happening. This show is about you, the listener. 1,000%. If this show wasn't about you, then what am I doing here? Like, seriously, what am I doing here? I'm just being an idiot, if that was the case. So it's absolutely not about me. And again, of course, it's about McCarthy, Jefferson as well. Not, it's so you guys can talk about it, debate them, and have, talk about, read about, debate this team, these players, their future, their current status, their future. Where McCarthy, to me, I consider him a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. A franchise quarterback, let's see if that's in his future. It's not, we can't officially declare that at the moment. But can I say JJ McCarthy is my starting quarterback next week and feel good about it? Yes. Yes, I feel much better about it, at least in my opinion. What say you? If you'd like to comment on that, go ahead. Should probably put polls out there or something. It certainly works for Brave the Wild. But McCarthy looks like a starting quarterback right now, and it feels good. It feels really good. 22 years of age. A lot of us had a feeling that this whole situation with McCarthy and these awful starts were all just because he's just getting started out there. He's still getting comfortable out there. The offense didn't really match his skills. The offense wasn't really optimizing what JJ McCarthy can do. And finally, Kevin O'Connell made the adjustments he needed to, and here you go. Because here's the thing, Kevin O'Connell, you were the more than likely, it's unconfirmed, but more than likely, like a 90% plus possibility that the number one reason JJ McCarthy is on this football team is because of Kevin O'Connell. And if Kevin O'Connell wanted JJ McCarthy on this team via the draft, why would you not try to do your best to make him successful? Even if it means I gotta change what I like to do. Yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you like to do. You know what that's called? Leadership. Head coaches are supposed to be leaders. They're not just, the boss. You know what I mean? They're not just the boss or whatever, or they're not just the guy, I don't know. They're not just the play caller on offense or something, or the play caller on defense in Mike Zimmer's case. There's, you're a leader of men, and so are starting quarterbacks. McCarthy absolutely can do that, and McCarthy absolutely can do that. O'Connell, sure, of course, but at the same time, you have to make the adjustments when needed. And, well, we're seeing a different situation here. We're also seeing a quarterback maturing. We're seeing him calming down a little bit as well. Like, there's certain workplaces out there. Sometimes this young person's a little bit crazy, a little bit goofy, but then they calm down a little bit. And then, now they're starting to hit stride. Same thing going on with McCarthy. Like the dog in the street, and that was fun and everything and cool. But that was like a sugar high that was like way too much sugar. Like, holy cow, you just drank a 2-liter of Mountain Dew. Settle down, young man. Settle down, young grasshopper. And so, yes, that's where McCarthy makes sense. O'Connell made sense a bit. Is settle down a little bit. And, maybe when you're not so hyped up, maybe your mechanics will kind of like fall into place a little bit, along with the practice, along with being focused and everything, because all of that kind of works together. And you're starting to see that out of JJ McCarthy. And that's what feels freaking wonderful right now, to see some success. It sucks that he had the grape jelly stain at the beginning of the game, like right out of the get-go. It's like, oh, here we go again. Nope, we didn't. Here we don't go again. Last week, McCarthy could not get to 200 yards. This week, 250. 15 of 24, not the sexiest number of all time. 2 touchdowns, though, and both to Jalen Naylor. And again, more and more reason to keep Jalen Naylor. Like, plain as day, there's something there. There is something there. That it's not luck. It's not happenstance. It's not like, oh, come on, It's not just like some kind of like dumb luck or anything. No, there is a pattern to it. Another important statistic that is really nice, that overcomes that stupid grape jelly stain at the beginning of the game. Quarterback rating of 108. Like if your seasonal quarterback rating is 108, you're a pretty damn good quarterback. So it's awesome. That's obviously not his current statistic for his whole season, him being McCarthy. Right now, but coming into this game, it was still at 67.4, which is not considered real good. 2 touchdowns thrown. McCarthy's now at 11. Unfortunately, 11 interceptions. But, numbers are getting better. About 1,300 yards plus on the season now. Percentages in the 50s still. But it's okay. It's okay. Like we always talked about how Peyton Manning threw, 28 interceptions as a rookie? Yeah, he did. It happens, Yes, he did. Does that mean McCarthy's on a Peyton Manning's level? Probably not. But, well, maybe he will be. Drake May last year wasn't all that great. I remember just kind of keeping up with him last year. But the Patriots weren't winning games, and it just kind of, things just weren't happening. He probably didn't have the right coach, but at the same time, again, he's just kind of getting going. And McCarthy is just kind of getting going right now because, last year, how much could he really practice? Unfortunately, he couldn't. Like, it's well known out there, he really couldn't practice, at least not officially. He had to just kind of do his own thing. And, you can certainly watch and learn and all that stuff. But when you can't actually practice with the team and all that, that kind of sucks. And the coaches and stuff, when you're on that, season-long IR, it does kind of suck. The defense, again, was kind of a bend but don't break. Certainly nothing special about this defense today, but they made big plays at the same time. I mean, they didn't get the big turnover. What was there? Only like 1 sack the whole game. Also, backtracking to McCarthy and everything, 0 sacks today. That's extremely encouraging. The offensive line was, a lot more in sync with McCarthy. You saw less of that false start crap. Obviously, that was real early. Again, probably a little too hyper at the time, and it was confusing the offensive linemen. And so me picking on, Brian O'Neill and such probably wasn't the best idea. Yeah, the quarterback was probably confusing him a bit, unfortunately. JJ McCarthy got sacked 0 times today. It's a combination of the offensive line doing a very good job. Not a perfect job, but a pretty darn good job. I mean, it was pretty good. Pretty good. And McCarthy simply throwing the ball away at times as well. Rather than trying to force a play or take a stupid sack. Get rid of the ball. If you can get rid of the ball and avoid, losing 9 yards or something on a play, good. That's good. So instead of 2nd and 19, it's 2nd and 10, Okay. That's still manageable. It's still possible. 2nd and 19, I mean, odds are you're probably not going to make it. You'll be fighting for it. I mean, you might make it, but odds are against it. Once you're behind that 8 ball, like that's where, just all the time, like say there's a running play, whatever it is, or whatever the heck the play is, and then you get a stupid holding call, and now you're 10 yards in the hole right out of the gate, and you got to get 20 yards just to get the first down, and oftentimes everything kind of tightens up and it doesn't work out. Back to the bend but don't break defense. Dallas Turner continues to be showing what he can do out there. There's all kinds of weird rumors and such that Turner would be included with McCarthy going to Cincinnati to get Joe Burrow if the Vikings were going to make a crazy move. Minnesota Wild made a crazy move this past week, acquiring the number 2 defenseman in the entire NHL. The only guy better than Quinn Hughes is Cale Makar, and odds are, even if you're not like a huge hockey fan, you've probably heard of Cale Makar because he's insane. He's absolutely nuts. He's so good. He's with the Colorado Avalanche. And the guy right behind him, who is not far behind him at all because he had a 90-plus point season as a defenseman, is Quinn Hughes. So, yes, I did a special episode on Friday night because, like, how the heck could I let that pass by? One of the most exciting things in the history of Minnesota Wild hockey. In fact, you could argue it's right up there with the whole Parise Suter thing way back on July 4th, 2012. But let me tell you, this is more exciting than that. You know why? Like, what do you mean it's only one player? It doesn't matter. Luke Hughes, that's his brother, pardon me. Quinn Hughes is better than Ryan Suter and Zach Parise. He's better than both of them. He's the best acquisition the Minnesota Wild have ever done, other than, of course, signing Kaprizov, who we'd had drafted anyway, so we didn't really acquire him. It was just finally signing him and bringing him over. Yeah, so very exciting. That's where the conversation, sorry if I'm kind of jumping off into something weird here, but that's where the conversation goes with the Vikings possibly, if you want to make a really crazy move, possibly Dallas Turner and JJ McCarthy, maybe a draft pick or two, heading to Cincinnati for Joe Burrow, if that's where things turn out. Burrow clearly, like, kind of, I don't know, feeling malaise there in Cincinnati. Like, they just can't win. The defense isn't there, and I don't know. It's just not been working out, generally speaking. There's basically no defense whatsoever, but unfortunately on his side, he can't stay healthy, be it luck or his own fault, one way or another. Or it's just the way his body is. It just can't seem to, hold up during an NFL season. But I wouldn't doubt the offensive line in Cincinnati hasn't helped him either. So, yeah. Dallas Turner, that kind of triggered my conversation there. Six tackles today. He played pretty well. Eric Wilson with 7 total tackles, 4 solo. Blake Cashman had 3 solo and none bigger than the third one, the last tackle he made in the game. Late, we're talking, that was absolutely huge. It looked like Dallas was going to get enough of a play to get a first down. It was extremely frustrating the way Dallas would go from, 2nd and 20 to suddenly just like third and fairly short, but Cashman was able to make the big stop after the catch and turn the Cowboys over so the Vikings could burn the clock some more, run the Dallas Cowboys timeouts all out, and then eventually kick a 53-yard field goal, which indeed Will Riker did make. He had a 29-yard chip shot and then the 53-yarder to wrap things up. 10 total fantasy points, or 10 total points, generally speaking, for our guy Will Riker. So that was absolutely great. Miles Price is actually having a historical season for the Minnesota Vikings in terms of returning, so very exciting there. He's one of the best returners in Vikings history, which is where he's heading. Ivan Pace continues to fall out of the face of the earth, which is disappointing, but not overly surprising. Kind of how it goes. Rodgers was banged up very late in the game. Harrison Smith had what was almost a game-ending interception, but the Cowboys were down by 2 scores anyway, so it didn't really hurt that much. Luckily, the Vikings, again, would survive this. Number one story continues to be JJ McCarthy, one way or another. If it's like, man, he's terrible, or, yeah, he looks like a legitimate starter, which is exciting. Hopefully he can become beyond that. But quarterback rating of 108, you're heading in the right direction. And performing on Sunday Night Football on the road is also, again, it's exciting and encouraging, and it's a very good sign that this guy is legit. Like I was joking about how, like, finally Kirk Cousins won a Sunday night game for, first time in 3,000 tries. JJ McCarthy did it right away. JJ McCarthy won a Monday Night Football game as his first game ever in the NFL, ever. And against a team that's probably going to win the NFC North this year, the Chicago Bears. His team growing up, too, by the way. Oh, yeah. Yes, it was his team growing up, the Chicago Bears. Think about that. You beat the future division champion on the road in your first game ever on a Monday Night Football game. Say what you want of, okay, the Bears are just getting started. Nobody thought they were going to do jack bleep. Yeah, but they are doing jack bleep. And you almost beat the Bears again, by the way. Despite playing terribly, you woke up a bit at the end and almost saved the day. JJ McCarthy. Yep. So extremely exciting there. Again, getting it done on Sunday Night Football in Dallas. Kirk Cousins did it once. Didn't he? When did he do it? Once? And then, like I said, Mike Zimmer accidentally said, "You like how this tastes?" instead of, you like that? Which is the Kirk Cousins call basically forever. It's Kirk Cousins call, Kirk Cousins slogan, Kirk Cousins this, Kirk Cousins that. Kirko changed, and he had a really good game this week as well. We'll talk about that in segment number 2. An awesome game. And boy, did it help my fantasy team. Not because Kirk Cousins did well, because a certain tight end who's been known for many years had an epic performance, and my God, did that help. Freaking cool. Yeah, anyhow, nice to see McCarthy taking these steps forward and winning these games when he's on the big stage, because it's the only football game on. It's literally national television or international television, and McCarthy performs in AT&T Stadium. Freaking cool. Soldier Field performed. So obviously the national championship game a few years back performed, got it done. And that's what I was saying. If McCarthy is good enough to get the Vikings to the Super Bowl, they will win it. It's not about, oh, we got there. We're going to get, we got steamrolled by the, whoever. Steamrolled by the Chiefs or something. That'd be disgusting. Heck, the Chargers might end up there for all we know. We'll see. Chargers have 10 wins already, just like the Bears. The Bears. So we'll see how that all turns out. Should I do it again? I have to do it again. I have to. Well, it could be it could be a little thing, but the Fran Tarkenton Award winner is going to JJ McCarthy again. Yeah, it is. Yep. You're like, come on, Joey. Yeah, no, it's going to JJ McCarthy. He deserves it. But there's going to be an honorable mention or a co-winner in Jalen Naylor showing up to play and getting the job done, making the big catches. It's not like the sexiest numbers ever. 3 catches, 47 yards, but the 2 touchdowns. And just connecting with J.J. McCarthy and McCarthy connecting with him is extremely exciting for the future of this Minnesota Vikings team. And more reason, hopefully the Vikings can keep Jalen Naylor. I don't think anybody's going to throw like bajillions of dollars at him, but clearly he deserves to be paid as a NFL wide receiver and not just on some entry-level contract where it's like, yeah, you're just lucky to be wearing that jersey on Sundays, buddy. Unfortunately, that's probably where Ty Felton is at the moment, but we'll see how that changes in the next couple of years with Ty Felton's development as the 5th receiver on the Vikings roster. So we'll see how that all turns out at the end of the day, but extremely exciting. The Christian Ponder Memorial in this one, I don't know. I mean, it's... Who's the guy that's been bugging me a bit? Murphy Jr. Yeah, he's frustrating. He missed some tackles, and I don't know, but he did get a couple of pass deflections, so I can't bash him too much. But it felt like some of those plays, it's just like, dude, you're missing on these tackles, and it's so frustrating. So that drives me nuts a little bit. But there's nobody really that I'm all PO'd at right now. I don't think the Vikings played bad at all. I think it was a fun performance. Very encouraging for all of us fans that want to see JJ McCarthy succeed, and it's awesome. So we'll just kind of go in the direction we're going when it comes to the Christian Ponder Memorial. You feel very happy when you see your quarterback developing into a real NFL quarterback. It's fun and exciting. So with that, now this first segment, of course, recorded right after the game because it's like fresh vibes and such. Of course, as you've noticed, the show has been released on Monday, so not Sunday night. But wanted to get the first segment in on Sunday night because it's fresh on my mind, and we could dive into all the other fun stuff in segment number 2, including next week's game. And we are back here on Purple Mafia segment number 2. Time to look around the league and preview the nooner next week with the New York Giants. Yes, the nooner. That's better. These late games it's not like it's hard. It's just, it's kind of a pain for the podcast a little bit. So then you got to maybe do part of it or record really late or whatever. But, yes, the first segment was right after the game, after listening to a tiny bit of vent line with Score North to hear the fan reactions a little bit. And yes, people are excited, and they should be. Excited in terms of not like, yay, we won the game, oh my God, here we come. But that, yeah, we looks like we just might have a quarterback of the future after all. That this wasn't this guy isn't just whatever, Cade McNown or something. I don't think Cade McNown is. I don't think Cade McNown looked the way JJ McCarthy has looked the last couple of weeks, and on other flashes here and there against Chicago and Detroit, respectively. Yes. Where are we? Let's get caught up to some of the games here. Yes, Thursday Night Football, Atlanta and Tampa. Exciting stuff, no doubt about that. Also, you have Miami and Pittsburgh tonight, Monday night, December the 15th. Pittsburgh, Miami. Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Miami Dolphins. The, I guess, Marino Bowl, you could say, because Dan Marino was originally from Pittsburgh, and he played for the Dolphins. We'll call it the Marino Bowl or the Brian Flores Bowl, because Flores was the defensive coordinator with Pittsburgh and the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Anyhow, the Atlanta Falcons show up to play, and the Buccaneers lose again. This was in Raymond James Stadium, another home loss to a not-so-good team. They lost to the Saints last week, this week to the Falcons. That would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, respectively. Kirk Cousins shows up, and looks like the Kirk Cousins that we really enjoyed watching at times, especially against the Detroit Lions when the Lions were lousy. 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating 117. Looking a lot like the Kirk Cousins we remember against teams like the Detroit Lions. But this is Tampa, in Tampa, and I don't know, the Buccaneers aren't really good anymore. Looks like they're, I don't know, I think they're still in first place, which is crazy, but they're 500. Lousy. Kyle Pitts was the recipient of a big number of, all 3 of the touchdowns, and 166 yards, 11 catches, targeted 12 times, 8 first downs for Kyle Pitts. Amazing performance. And I just so happened, it's like a still small voice that put Kyle Pitts in there instead of the Philadelphia tight end, and it turned out pretty good. That was awesome. Kyle Pitts, yep, spectacular performance, and I think I'm in good shape going forward with that. Again, don't like to babble on about fantasy too much on the podcast because, this isn't a fantasy football show, but sometimes details like that are exciting. Joe Burrow certainly didn't follow up what he did last week, that's for sure, but we'll get to that later. CeeDee Lamb did play well against the Vikings. I didn't even talk about him much. 10 targets, 111 yards. He had a good game, but yeah, we'll get off of that as well. Weird. Very strange. I'm just looking at something that I'm like, we'll get off of whatever I'm thinking right now. Yeah, a lot of people kind of had funky days, and of course you had 2 massive postseason-changing injuries, basically. History-changing type of injuries, unfortunately, for certain teams. But digressing back to the Falcons, they got the job done. Good for them. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not so much. Why did I click that button? That was totally stupid. Threw everything off. I told you not to click that one. Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I did. Mayfield, 2 touchdowns and a grape jelly stain interception. Threw about 50%, kind of sort of around there. Not a great particular day. Tucker was able to run one in, and just a couple of tough yards. Evans of the Buccaneers, of course, 132 yards on 6 catches. It's not like the Buccaneers were totally ugly out there, but they just lost. I mean, they were right there. It was kind of a shootout, and they ended up losing. Antoine Winfield Jr., of course, coming from the Gophers, and Antoine Winfield Sr. and all of them, 13 tackles to lead the way. But unfortunately, again, that meant the Falcons were catching a lot of balls. Yes, a lot. Making a lot of catches and having some success. Winfield Jr. is a safety, though, not a cornerback like his father. We will not talk about Chicago, Cleveland until later. Cincinnati, Baltimore. Ouch. Cincinnati has gone from a team that was, they were either winning really close, high-scoring games or losing really close, high-scoring games. In this one, they didn't even score. The Baltimore Ravens pitch a shutout. Dare we say Jack Morris style, or Yamamoto if you want to go modern. Jeez. I mean, painful memories because I did not want the Dodgers to win the World Series. But he went Madison Bumgarner on that bit. That's why he won the MVP for the World Series. I mean, I hate the frickin' Dodgers, but Yamamoto, thumbs up to him, I mean, he's been in the league for 2 years. Of course he went to the frickin' Dodgers. God. Of course he did. Every Japanese superstar is going to the Dodgers. Dodgers. Just like they got another star player on the Mets this just a week ago or something. It's like, bleep you. Ugh. The Dodgers need to disappear. Baltimore Ravens. Well, the Chiefs are going to disappear at least for 1 year, but we'll get to that later. Baltimore Ravens 7-7 with the win. 7-7 with the win. 24-0. Of course, Mr. Lamar Jackson has a grape jelly stain like he always does. That would be an interception or a turnover of some sorts. He did have a fumble but did not lose it. 2 touchdown passes thrown. Only 12 pass attempts. That's just kind of a funky team, funky offense there in Baltimore. Always has been. Jackson usually doesn't even throw that much. He'll run sometimes. He only ran twice, which is interesting as well. He only ran twice, but one of them was for 14 yards. So it's like not that impressive of a game, honestly, at all. But they won, bottom line. Derrick Henry just kind of cut through that defense like it was nothing. Only 11 rushes and wound up with 100 yards, 29 on the long. And Mitchell, also the other running back, 8 carries for 66 yards. Crazy. So easy-going, Tecmo football there for the Baltimore Ravens, where they didn't really have to pass because it was working. The run game was working, basically. They didn't have to do a whole lot. And Cincinnati just was bleeping around. Eventually, it's just like whatever. Teddy Buchanan also may have tore his ACL. That would be from the Ravens. So another so in this particular game, unfortunately, Teddy Buchanan, unfortunately, they believe he tore his ACL. So it was like an ACL Sunday, unfortunately. And very sorry for these players. Even though 2 of them play for teams that I do not want to win ever. I'd like them to go to 0. I'd like both teams to go 0-17. But I'm not real thrilled about guys tearing their ACL. It's depressing. Extremely. Whoa. And the interception by Lamar Jackson, by the way, just to get back to you on that one, it was Qadry Ismail-like. You know what that means? It means the ball was accurately thrown to the wide receiver, and the receiver accidentally, didn't catch it, and the ball went up in the air. They basically batted the ball up in the air, and the defender caught it instead. It was a Qadry Ismail-style interception, so we could call it an unearned interception, though unfortunately on the stat sheet doesn't quite show up that way, generally speaking. So we will continue to move on to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. Not seeing a whole lot of Taylor Swift this year, which is wonderful. Good riddance. Adios, bye-bye. We won't be seeing her in the postseason or any stupid bowl or anything like that. Chargers get the job done in Kansas City. Another Arrowhead loss for the Chiefs. But then the biggest loss they could ever have, basically, is a late game. Obviously, Mahomes is in there for a reason. They're trying to, tie it up, go to OT, or possibly win the game. And there's always a possibility that could happen, even though it's been a lost season for the Chiefs. And eventually that had to happen. I mean, you're not going to be good forever. It's impossible. Like, your window's going to close also, even if it's just a temporary close for this year. Mahomes didn't throw a single touchdown pass in the game. 189 yards, 16 of 28. Quarterback rating of only 62.9, like one of McCarthy's lousy games. And to be fair, the Chargers made McCarthy look pretty lousy too, didn't they? So they did. Or was it Wentz? I'm blanking now. But the Chargers made McCarthy look pretty lousy. It's safe to say. I believe that was or was that Philly? I'm just mixed up in my head right now. I apologize. I think McCarthy did play against the Chargers. I may have to go backtracking here a little bit. Sorry, I'm just kind of confusing myself here. Yeah, that was way back, October 23rd. Yeah, no, I didn't think McCarthy played in that one. It was Wentz, and he was basically the same thing, 67.5. So, again, to be fair, the Chargers defense is awesome. So it's not like, what the hell, Mahomes, necessarily. And again, these guys are all human beings. They're not going to be, throwing four touchdowns and 400 yards every week. But of course, again, Mahomes was kind of scrambling, looking to throw the ball away as he was getting hit. His knee buckled, and and then he got up. Like, at first it looked like, because I didn't really see initially what had happened, I thought, oh, maybe he kind of twisted his ankle a little bit. He's kind of hopping up and down. Maybe he'll be okay. And then, no, he's not hopping up and down. He was actually holding his knee, and his knee did buckle, and he's done. So, and this is in December, by the way. So that doesn't mean necessarily that Mahomes will be hurling passes next August in the preseason. So we'll see what happens in training camp and all that. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and he's, focused, like more focused than ever, that type of thing. But we'll see how this goes. The Chiefs 6-8 and officially eliminated, along with losing their quarterback for a while, and we'll see what happens. Well, obviously for the rest of this season, and we'll see what happens in the next year. Who knows? It's going to be interesting. Again, I do not like the Chiefs. I'm glad they got eliminated. Rather they get eliminated, Mahomes doesn't get hurt, and then you just move on from there. But eventually the window has to close one way or another, whether Mahomes has a spectacular game or doesn't get hurt, that type of thing. Guys like Kelsey are getting old, this and that. Other players, important players, other guys are getting figured out. They're not as good as you thought. Maybe like the running back there, the arrogant running back that the Chiefs have. Oh, he's annoying. Patio, 11 rushes for 21 yards. I mean, that tells you something. They're figuring him out a little bit. And again, the Chargers defense is amazingly good. Gardner Minshew looked like he was going to drive the Chiefs to possibly a game-tying field goal. Got them into field goal range, and then it's just, I don't know. They got in the passing lane, got the key interception. The Chargers defense got the key interception down the stretch and wrapped things up in that one. James Jr. and Henley getting the interceptions in this one at the end of the day. Justin Herbert has been playing with a broken hand, which is crazy because it's non-throwing, of course. 1 touchdown and 1 interception. 84 quarterback rating. We'll move on now. Mahomes, sorry to hear that happened. Again, not a Chiefs fan if you didn't figure that out already, but sad to hear that happening. We'll see what happens. Buffalo Bills did kind of something semi-similar to what they did way back in '92 in their wildcard game against the Houston Oilers. Yes, they were the Houston Oilers. I wish they still were the Houston Oilers. Change the Texans' name to the Oilers. Can we do that and bring back the classic logo? Please. Wouldn't that be nice? Just like the North Stars and the Wild, that kind of thing. Oh no, we can't do that. No, just can't do that. It's just, what are you doing? This is the Texans era. That's insulting. And this is the Wild. They're not the North Stars. Okay, whatever you say. The Buffalo Bills came back from 21-0 and won the football game. A Wild won 35-31. Patriots. Drake May didn't throw a single touchdown pass as the Patriots were running all over the place, including Drake May twice into the end zone and Henderson into the end zone twice on 148 yards, Tecmo Bowl style. Of course, again, a 65-yard scamper as well to go for Henderson. 148 yards and only 14 carries. Again, almost 11 yards a carry because of the 65-yard scamper. Patriots looked like they had this one, but they just simply didn't because Drake May was pretty average. He looked like McCarthy against the Bears or something, 62.8. Or the Packers. Kind of closer to that. He looked closer to McCarthy against them, and again, getting the rushing touchdown, so that's nice at the end of the day. 14 of 23. Not as bad as McCarthy was in those games. I know, I'm just kind of messing around, but his overall quarterback rating was about in the same level. And luckily, again, it's young quarterbacks, and they're going to have a not-so-good game. Buffalo's primed to go to a potential Super Bowl, as are the Patriots, so we'll see how this goes. Buffalo will not have to worry about the Kansas City Chiefs blocking their path to get to the Super Bowl this time. So it's going to be real interesting in the AFC. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I really am. And January, as depressing as it is, like Christmas season's over already. Come on. But then, on the horizon, spring's not all that far away. That's one thing to look forward to. It's like less than 2 months away, which is kind of cool in a way when it starts. But then what else is exciting about January? The playoffs. Football playoffs are probably about as good as it gets. And now you get the playoffs without the ever-predictable Chiefs miracle-like finishes when, like, the other team was, whoever they were. The Bills were playing a spectacular game, but then always here comes Mahomes. He's going to do his Houdini and perform the magic play. And, oh, yay, Travis Kelce's open. That big 17-yard gain on the 3rd and 12. It's like, bleep you. I hate this. It's so frustrating. Well, we don't have to see that. So, and it would happen over and over. Remember that? Anybody? I have PTSD from it. Like, no. Like the whole Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, when the Eagles were just thromping the Eagles were just thromping the Chiefs. It was still like every time the Chiefs had to punt or had a turnover or something, it was like, whoo, oh, thank God. Every single time. It was like that. It was like a 1-point game, even though the Eagles were up by like 20 points, 30 points. That's what it felt like. PTSD. Oh, anyhow, Mr. Josh Allen threw three touchdowns, 193 yards, way up there, 123 quarterback rating. Was sacked twice, good for him. James Cook the third, a little tougher football, but smash mouth, but still excellent, well played by James Cook the second. And this is what hurt the Patriots in a lot of ways. Not only Josh Allen having a great game and no turnovers, that was the huge difference right here. As the Patriots did have a turnover, and of course May just wasn't as good as Josh Allen. He just wasn't as good. But no fumbles by Cook, no fumbles by Allen, no interceptions by Allen. And that was the big difference. Cook got in the end zone twice, 107 yards and 22 tough carries. Tough carries. For almost 5 yards a carry and a long of 12. He didn't have any big scamper that boosted up his yards per carry. To average about 5 yards a carry against a pretty good Patriots defense in New England, by the way. That's right, Gillette, you know that place. You ever heard of it? 107 yards, 22 carries, 5 yards a carry, 12 for a long. That is awesome. That is extremely impressive, and that's what hurt the Patriots. Time of possession and all that. The Bills were able to come back and win that thing, and Allen was amazing. 2 touchdowns for James Cook the third. Congratulations, Mr. Cook. 5 extra points for Prater. That's it. No field goals for him. And nice performance by the Bills. That was a big one. That was probably the biggest game of the whole day. In fact, I would say it was. Packers and, I'll get to that later. But yeah, Packers and Broncos is a big one too. Possible Super Bowl. Though I would venture to say it's probably not going to be. I hope it's neither of them. I don't want to see Denver in the Super Bowl. Do you? Ugh, no. I don't want to see the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Boring. Commanders and Giants. The Commanders get their 4th win of the year. Congratulations, they're 4-10. The Giants dropped to 2-12. Marcus Mariota, the Oregon Duck, formerly, of course, because the young man, of course, again, re-aggravated his elbow as it hit the ground hard in U.S. Bank Stadium. 10 of 19 for Marcus Mariota, and the Commanders win. in a mediocre game. Touchdown thrown, yay. His quarterback rating was about 110 in terms of Mariota. He did fumble twice, lost it once. Nichols also lost a fumble. Yikes. Krosky Merritt, though, 18 rushes for 96 yards. Tough love again. He did have a fumble but didn't lose it. Almost 5 yards, or over 5 yards a carry. So again, Giants were doomed there. McLaurin finally freaking played. It took like the whole damn season. Thank you very much. 69 yards and just 3 catches, a 51-yard long touchdown for Mr. McLaurin. Congratulations to you. The Zents, the New York Zents. Just kidding. New York Giants dart is back. 36 attempts, 20 completions, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not bad. I mean, it's not bad. And he also ran for 63. He did have a fumble but did not lose the fumble. Let's go. That's one of those postseason, preseason style football games. Las Vegas Raiders shut out again. I don't know what to tell you about the Raiders. They're 2-12. They're looking to try to get a number 1 pick, not named Jamarcus Russell. Okay, try to not run into that kind of frustration again. If you're going to give it the number 1 pick, hopefully it's not another Jamarcus Russell. Pickett, Mr. Pickett was he was picked off. 1 interception, and his quarterback rating was 47.9, and he threw for a wonderful, dazzling 64 yards on 15 completions. The Eagles' defense is good, but wow. This was a Super Bowl, wasn't it? Like 1980, right? Like around there, way back in the good old days. This was a Super Bowl. Eagles and Raiders, back in the day when the Eagles never won Super Bowls, you know? Something that definitely changed from 17 up to last year. They'd been to 3 and won 2 of them. Yeah, obviously they lost to the Patriots as well in 2004. 2004 season anyway. Boy, the Raiders. Raiders are not the proud franchise they once were way back in the day. Jalen Hurts had a nasty, disgusting game last week. Just 3, what did he throw? 4 interceptions? It was like, what the heck? And they still almost won the game. But it all kind of fell apart. The Chargers got a huge win against the Eagles. Again, picking off Hurts 4 times. Whereas this week, you go from Hurts to Mahomes. You end up beating both of them. Good job, Chargers. We'll see if they go to the Super Bowl. We'll see. But Hurts, basically a perfect quarterback rating, right about there. 154.9, 12 of 15, sacked only once, 3 touchdowns thrown, and he did not lose a fumble. Congratulations. Saquon Barkley, well, kind of like a Delvin Cook type of game when Delvin Cook was like, had a semi-renaissance despite overall mediocre play. 22 rushes, 78 yards, 3.5 a carry, but he got in the end zone. So good for Saquon. Definitely not even close to last year. 31-0 though. Eagles win and are now 9-5. Sorry, I'm talking weird here. Starting to sound crazy. Jacksonville Jaguars continue to win football games despite it being the Jets. I mean, whatever. Everbank Stadium. Secret of Evermore Bank Stadium. Just kidding. Secret of Evermore. Great Super Nintendo game. If you ever are interested in going retro and want to play, maybe you were a huge Super Nintendo fan but never played that one. Yes. Secret of Evermore. 48-20 over the Jets. The Jets have landed. They were out of jet fuel. Cook was the quarterback in this one, and he threw 3 interceptions. 3. 1 touchdown pass for him. Yay. Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence had a Mahomes special, basically. Threw 330 yards, 5 touchdowns. Or Culpepper a couple games. Like he had one of those against the Cowboys. That's like 5 touchdowns. Oh, my God. 136.7. Trevor Lawrence showing his true stuff. He even ran one in. So 6 touchdowns total for Trevor Lawrence if you happen to have him in your starting lineup in fantasy football. Travis Etienne also had, he received 3 of those touchdowns. 3 of them. Travis Etienne, the running back, receiving 3 touchdowns, 73 yards for him. Amazing game for the Jaguars and for Mr. Trevor Lawrence. It was against the Jets, but still a win's a win. 10-4 for the Jaguars. Nobody's condemning them, just like we try not to condemn the Vikings either for romping up on the Washington Commanders last week. Houston Texans crushed on the Arizona Cardinals 40-20. Cardinals are lousy now. Obviously, they've been lousy most of the year. 3-11. Texans are now 9-5. They continue to win football games, including that big one last week. That's how they. Yeah, the Eagles beat the Chargers. The Chargers beat the Eagles last week, and then now the Texans beat the Chiefs last week. That was an epic game. Brissett again. That's the funny part. Some people make fun of Brissett. Despite the Cardinals getting smoked, he's putting up nice numbers. 3 touchdowns, an interception, and I know they had to pass. But I don't know. I like Brissett. I wouldn't mind him as a backup in Minnesota. Stroud, great night. Good for him, because he's had some mediocre games this year. 22 completions, 29 touchdowns, 22 of 29 in completions, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. Quarterback rating way up on the moon, 137. And Jordan on the ground also for the Texans. 101 yards, almost 7 yards a carry. Let's just keep going because they kick their butts and the Texans just continue to win games. They're looking wonderful going into the postseason. And just a few left before we get into the division. I talked about the Giants already. That was dumb. But, I blanked about we're playing the Giants. How stupid. That's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't talk much about them, and we'll be getting into them later. New Orleans Saints. I didn't even realize I did that. Saints 4-10 on the year. They get another win, back-to-back wins, beating the Panthers this time. So, huge loss for the Panthers, who are in the hunt for the postseason. This is not how you make the playoffs, is losing to the New Orleans Saints. Bryce Young didn't have a turnover, but just was mediocre at best. 15 of 24, 163 yards and a touchdown. Carolina just mediocre in this one. Kind of surprising. Show, if that's how you say it, 1 touchdown. He was just better, 24 of 32. It's actually a pretty good game for him. Let's move quickly. Big loss for the Carolina Panthers, a big one. Sorry if this is dragging so long. Oh my God, there's a bunch of games. But yeah, I think we're done with bye weeks, and that's partially why. 49ers beat the Titans in a kind of a meh game, 37-24. Titans are also 2-12. That's another team way at the bottom of the league. But Ward was good. He was respectable. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Tony Pollard, another huge game, 104 yards, almost 8 yards a carry. Holy crap, or 7.5 basically. So guys putting up numbers and everything. That's why it's like the Niners didn't exactly dominate the Titans, but then again, they did score 37 points. Purdy with 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards. His quarterback rating up on the moon at 140. He did have a fumble loss, though. So a little bit of grape jelly staying there, unfortunately. But a big win for the Niners again. 10-4 on the season. Still have an outside chance of catching the Rams, but it feels like, I don't know, they might be on their way to the bowl. Who knows? You might see Rams Chargers or something. Just not the Broncos. I don't want the Broncos. Nah, I don't want Sean Payton back in the Super Bowl. Seahawks are 11-3. What the heck? So, yep, the Niners have to catch them too. The Colts, they go from this promising possible number one seed in the AFC. Daniel Jones having a wonderful, wonderful season, looking so promising. And then things start to kind of go downhill. And Jones was kind of playing with what it sounded like he had like a sore calf or something, which kind of gives you a little indicator, right, of what could be coming. Nudge, nudge. And then he tears his Achilles. And here are the Colts now, 8-6, and on the outside looking in after being so wonderful early on. Were they like 8-2? Now they're 8-6. Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, just comes in like, okay, yeah, I'll be the quarterback again. See, obviously this was his second and final team in the league. Interesting. Sorry. 18 of 27, 120 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I bet Phillip Rivers didn't think he was going to throw another touchdown pass, but but there he is throwing one. And the recipient was Downs there in the Colt land, and the Colts almost beat the Seahawks. To be fair, Darnold was mediocre, 22 of 36. He did get a lot of yards, but did not throw a touchdown or anything like that. 271 yards, and 18-16, kind of an ugly, weird game in Seattle. But Seattle's defense would ultimately be the reason for the victory more so than the offense. And 18-16, the Seahawks, spectacular, dazzling record. We'll see what they actually do in the playoffs, though. Wouldn't get my hopes up too high, just being honest. I don't want to click on that, but I did. Crap. Let's go with the Rams hosting the Detroit Lions first. They've had some great games against each other. It's the Goff Bowl. It's the Goff Stafford Bowl, basically. Obviously, that famous trade. It made Detroit better, and it made the Rams world champions, at least for 1 year. But Detroit has been so much better because Goff kind of lit a fire under him. 3 touchdowns thrown against his former club, 338 yards. Didn't turn the ball over at all. Detroit played a very good game, but the Rams are just a little better. That's kind of what it was. Stafford, 368 yards. He did have an interception in the game, but Williams got in the end zone twice, and Corum got in the end zone once. The Rams did not have a hard time running the ball against the Detroit Lions, about 6 yards a carry between their two main running backs, and 157 yards, I believe, if I'm looking at the math, 159 yards. Rough day for the 149 yards for the between those two guys for the Detroit Lions defensively. Stafford again throwing for 368 as well. 368. Puka Nakua. I always say it rolls right off your tongue because it does. 181 yards on 9 catches. Killer. Parkinson with 2 touchdown receptions. The tight end there in Los Angeles. 5 catches, 75 yards for him. Unbelievable. The Rams are 11-3, and ramming their way through the NFC still to this day. They're butting heads with everybody and winning. Butting heads, yeah, I know. Locking horns. Yay! Wasn't that cool? No, probably wasn't. No, I'm lost where I need to be. Where are the Bears? Where are the Packers? Where'd they go? Where's that Bears game? That was just hideous. I should have went to that one first. But now I can't find it. There it is. 31-3. 31-3. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Cleveland kind of like whatever. Cleveland kind of walking in the building. Sanders looking a lot more like, a rookie quarterback going against a much better team. 3 interceptions. Quarterback rating of 30. 177 yards. They couldn't run the ball either. They really couldn't. Sanders had a 15-yard run, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Bear down, Chicago Bears. 17 of 28 for Caleb Williams, 242, 2 touchdowns thrown, quarterback rating of 112.5. It was a combination of, what's going on up there? Combination of offense and defense. 18 rushes, 98 yards on the ground for Swift. 2 touchdowns, 5.5 a carry. Good for him. Great performance. The Bears just romp all over the Browns, and it's probably their division now because we're going to talk about Micah Parsons here in a second. It probably is the Bears' division. They're 10-4 on the season. Some early losses, including the season opener to the Vikings, hurt them a little bit, possibly. Well, and hurt their chances of possibly getting a number one seed because, well, the Bears are definitely a threat to go very, very, very far. If, well, possible. They might be built for the playoffs, like colder weather football. Green Bay Packers 9-4-1. Technically, would they be ahead? I mean, no, I don't think they would be ahead. If they beat the Broncos today, they would be ahead. But they did not beat the Broncos. Broncos are 12-2 and have the number one seed in the AFC, much to our chagrin, unfortunately. Jordan Love, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown thrown. Mediocre day. The Broncos defense is very, very good. Jacobs, though, did have a good day on the ground, but the Packers were playing from behind for an extended period, so they couldn't utilize that running game. If the Packers could have built an early lead, who knows? Jacobs may have had 150 with the way things were going, but then again, he did have a 40-yard long, which kind of brought things up. Micah Parsons, yep, again, not celebrating anybody's injury here, but yeah, he's out for the season with the ACL. Another big-time player out for the year. Micah Parsons, and this derails the Packers' chances of possibly going to the Super Bowl. It's your best defensive player. He was the difference maker in a lot of ways, and well, I could imagine if this was the Super Bowl, this is probably where it would have headed. More than likely, the Broncos would have probably beaten the Packers in the Super Bowl, even if Parsons was healthy. But we'll see. I don't want the Broncos to win, but we'll see what happens. It's a well-built team, good defense, and a smart quarterback, kind of like Peyton Manning late in the end there when the Broncos ultimately got the job done and won the whole thing. So that's that. We'll look at the Giants here really quick before we move on ultimately. Again, remember they lost to the Washington Commanders. I can't imagine the Giants beating the Vikings this week, but I guess you never know. Anything's possible. Giants are definitely a mess right now. Malik Neighbors had the ACL much earlier in the season, which was not good. This one will be in New York, though, MetLife Stadium. So they're hosting another one. They couldn't even beat the Commanders today. So we'll see what happens. Vikings had a weird, funky game last year against the Giants. People were complaining that when the Giants were wearing those kind of more reddish uniforms that they look like the Montreal Canadiens. I liked it, though. I thought it was a cool look. I had no problem with it. I'd say wear them again, but I'm probably in the vast minority. Jackson Dart can certainly play. He's certainly mobile. He can dart as well, a 29-yard run in the game. But obviously he's a rookie quarterback. It'll be interesting to see Dart versus McCarthy. But I think the Vikings' chances of winning this game are pretty high. Obviously the Vikings have some ups and downs with this team over the course of the years. Playoff loss in '93, frustrating loss. Vikings were in it the whole way. Carter fumbled the ball away late. A golden opportunity for the Vikings, and they end up losing on the road against the Giants anyway, on the road, a frustrating loss back in '93. And then, of course, '97, the Vikings have the miracle is the miracle in the Meadowlands? Is that what we called it? When the Vikings had that miracle comeback against the Giants, like the squid kick type of situation. The Vikings recovered the fumble and ended up advancing in the playoffs finally for the first time in Dennis Green's run as the Vikings head coach. Kerry Collins was the quarterback, I do believe, in that game. Or was it the other guy? I can't remember. I think it was Collins, but I can't remember exactly. This is way back in '97. Vikings finally win a playoff game. And then 2000, Vikings, a lot of people thought that Viking team was going to go and take care of business against the Giants, and you had the 41 donut. Awful, awful day. And then another playoff loss recently in 2022 against a mediocre Giants team that came into U.S. Bank Stadium with Daniel Jones, and the Vikings couldn't beat them either. That was devastating and frustrating, to say the least. Very sad. So, very sad indeed to see that happen. It helped Daniel Jones make a nice chunk of change. He had a chance of making a nice chunk of change in this offseason, but now he had the Achilles, so hard to say what's going to happen. Maybe he'll be the Vikings' backup next year, and I would not be against that. Of course, when would he be available to actually play, though? It's an Achilles. That's serious stuff, and that was only last week, so we're talking December here. You know, when devastating injuries happen in December, that's usually not real good for the players' chances to really do anything, unfortunately. So, yeah, Vikings versus Giants. I like our chances against them, even if it's on the road. So be it. Guys, just stay healthy. We don't want any stupid injuries going into next year, like lingering into the next training camp, like, again, Parsons, Mahomes, and the other player on Baltimore this past week. So it's sad to hear about these. Obviously, Ertz last week, that was really depressing. That was very sad, actually. it looked like a dirty play, but it was kind of like the comeback was, what was he supposed to do? He was trying to tackle the guy, but I don't know. And the guy was way up in the air. So very sad to hear about Ertz's injury. You hate to hear about it. And a guy that was in his mid-30s, 35, 36, that might be it. And maybe it should be. Because it seemed like he'd probably played another year or two too many anyway. And I don't know. It is what it is. Vikings will beat the New York Giants, though, in this upcoming week. Final score, something along the likes of, well, we're capable of scoring points now, which is wonderful. Especially, it's funny when your quarterback's not getting sacked every 10 seconds. That does help. And, of course, he becomes more confident and less hyper and jittery and all of that. With the way, I think the Vikings do win the football game, something along the likes of, we'll say like 31 to 20. I think the Vikings win by double digits over the New York Giants next week, and hopefully they do. With that, we'll take a quick break and then wrap things up with fan interaction.
Well, hello Joey. What a difference a week makes. And let's be honest, were we surprised that they turned around and won after that despicable performance against Seattle? I think the fact that they shut out Washington was quite a surprise. And again, if we didn't have a rookie, so to speak, as our QB, I think I'd be quite disappointed because, again, it's about draft position, but it's also about the development of McCarthy. And he took baby steps this week. And the good thing was that O'Connell adapted the playbook. Short, intermediate passing, give the kids some confidence. The run game was going, there was balance. Something we've not seen this entire season. My concern is, can O'Connell continue to do this rather than going back to his niche offence of getting the ball deep down the field? I hope he can, because we have 4 more games, and if McCarthy can continue a steady improvement, then next season you start adding bits of O'Connell's offensive scheme and you go forward. Because I really don't want them going down this path of getting in another bloody veteran. We start this process again of, well, as we've said, good season, bad season, and there's no deep play into the playoffs. But yeah, it was good. It was nice to see an offense that worked, kept on the field, and gave the defense a rest for once. A lot of people have criticised the defense this year. Well, the fact that when you're spending probably 60, possibly 70% of a game having to defend, what the hell do people expect? Great performance. Yes, I get Washington's defense is bottom feeder, but you got to start somewhere. So, yeah, positive this week for once. Let's hope O'Connell can maintain that, and we see where we end up. Wouldn't be surprised if we won out, but we shall see. Anyway, my friends, Skull brothers and sisters, and let's look forward to Dallas, which I believe is prime time, so I probably won't stay up for that one.
And I thank you very much for that call-in, Dave Martin, Mad Martin. Yes, feeling a lot of us there with the whole situation of, yes, we got to adjust to McCarthy and not wanting to go in the Mac Jones route and, okay, we'll see what happens and then maybe re-sign him for 5-6 years, that type of thing. It's something that's just kind of been a trend with the Vikings forever. Me and my brother even used to joke about it about 20 years ago, that kind of stuff. Like, oh, we've released this guy and we've signed Bubby Brister for 5 years. It's just like, come on, what are we doing here? So that was when the Vikings had Culpepper. We were joking about the Vikings released Culpepper, that type of thing. Whereas finally, for a little while there, the Vikings had a, long-term quarterback until unfortunately he had that terrible knee injury. And then Culpepper and Childress didn't see eye to eye on things and he was immediately traded for Ryan Cook. Who? Ryan Cook. Ryan Cook. Yep. Great trade. Awesome trade. But then again, unfortunately, Culpepper was never good again after that injury. So, I don't know what to think about it. What else? Where else do we go here? Well, let's get to the, and of course, again, yes, you have a golden opportunity now to, I don't want to look at it. I just saw the Parsons injury. No! I hate looking at that stuff. Okay, sorry. It was one of those non-contact. And he saw him shaking his head. No, I'm out. Yep, he knew. He knew. He said, no, I'm out. I'm not laughing. I'm not trying to laugh. It's just like, it's like a nervous chuckle. Like, that's it, man. I'm out. Like, that's it. So that's depressing and sad to look at. It's like I always have this fear when I'm out running around in the lawn or whatever. It's like, just no, just I don't want to think about it. It's terrible to look at and imagine that happening to you. Like, what if that was you? But where am I going with this? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Other than, yes, Vikings focusing on the future with McCarthy. Absolutely, Dave. I mean, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. Huge thing. And I really hope I'm not missing anybody else's call. I'm glad I double-checked. I almost did miss this one. But it was there. And it's like, it was there. And there it is. And it's like, go get it, dang it. Go get it. Always good to double-check because you just never know. What if, like, oh, no. It was almost like I was getting used to people not calling in. And it's like, I guess there's nothing there. And like, oh, yeah. But then now, thankfully, Dave Martin's been calling in consecutive weeks. So that's awesome. I think it's 3 weeks in a row, technically. So that's what I actually heard, like last week, he called in twice, which is really cool because obviously he had a lot to say about the Seattle shutout. That was disgusting. The scoreless in Seattle, basically, is what that was. But yeah, I mean, finally a chance to focus on a quarterback of the future, and it's looking more and more promising that we do indeed have a quarterback of the future. Let's get to the Twitter, X post, whatever they call it. Dave Martin, Mad Martin, was able to watch part of the game. Of course, again, he's in northern Scotland, so of course, tough to watch the entire game when it's Sunday night football. I mean, that's like middle of the night over there. So Dave Martin says, nice to see them slicing up the 31st ranked pass defense. Yep. A lead at halftime would be good, and I must hit the hay. Yep, totally understandable, and that was fun. It was absolutely fun. Looks like there's a response in there. And I was saying this is definitely a fun game to watch. And very encouraging signs of a certain quarterback. Yep. So both of us probably encouraged with that one. It'll be dominated by another Dave here the rest of the way from Iowa. Wouldn't mind hearing from Leland one way or another. I don't know if he posts on Twitter or on Facebook. I swear I've seen him on both. So Leland, if you're out there, because I know he was like, yeah, I mean, if I have missed any of your posts, I deeply apologize once again, and anybody else as well. Dave Hickey, Iowa, says, just watched a long pass to CD, and now we're down 20-17. Yep. And the Cowboys are driving. It's not looking good. Yeah, that was when everything felt like everything was falling apart right there. But thankfully, things would go back in the right direction as the game progressed. McCarthy and co. Dave Hickey says, I'm sure sick of them being there every year. That'd be the Chiefs. Too bad about Mahomes' injury, though. Yep. And I was responding somewhere along the lines. Yep, I was saying, yeah, that was a huge shocker. I had the TV on when it happened, and it was like, oh my. Can't stand the Chiefs, but definitely don't want to see that happening. Yeah, the knee buckling. So, awful. Couple more here, a few more. Dave Hickey says it's starting to look better. I just wish we could get the JJ connection going. Yes, that's been a huge problem. That's been a huge problem. not only for my fantasy, which Jefferson's been killing me lately but just for the future. Yeah, like fantasy, yes, I can imagine fantasy. It's beyond frustrating. Like this guy's like a first round pick usually, like a guy at Justin Jefferson's level. Insane numbers throughout his career, including last year. And then it's like, what the heck is this? 800 yards and 2 touchdowns? What's going on here? Oh my God, this can't be happening. What a waste. What an absolute waste. Yeah, I understand. I understand. I really do. And I hope they can get that going. I don't know if it's some kind of weird nervousness that McCarthy has. Like, yes, we got to get things going. This is the best receiver in the league. And, oh, I missed again. I can't believe it. Or then JJ also might be thinking too much now. So, Jay Jets. Justin Jefferson might also be thinking too much as well. Dave Vicky says, I still do believe in him. This is a response to something I had said. Yep, I was saying, call this a crazy statement, but if McCarthy is good enough to get the Vikings to the Super Bowl someday, they will win the game. This guy shows up on the big stage. Dave says, I still do believe in him, and I think he's the guy that can get us there if he can just figure out his touch, yes, and not take out the rifle every time. Yep, that's one of the reasons why he's been missing on Justin Jefferson, yep, and other potential plays. It is interesting to see Parsons walk off the field like it's, like a little store. It's interesting. Must not have been a complete tear, but you know how that goes. It's still a very long-term injury. Still got to be, repaired and all that. So, yeah, reconstructed. But yes, that's been the thing with McCarthy so far. It's kind of like, again, like a guy shooting free throws or jump shots that are more like a laser instead of like a little more touch on the shot. It's kind of like that if you look at it in the basketball world. But yep, it's similar in football. You got to kind of sail it in sometimes, especially in the end zone. That's kind of a fade play. What a lot of the great receivers can do, kind of a fade play rather than just boom like that. Like the rifle is only when you're throwing the ball through traffic, kind of underneath more or less than you're trying to go over a bit. And when it's a rifle, when you're going over, it's probably going to miss, unfortunately. So that is true, very true, Dave. Final one here. I would have to say Big Leg Bill and JJ share the Tarkenton. That'd be JJ McCarthy. Share the Tarkenton with Jefferson getting the ponder. For I would say he deserves 3 weeks straight. Yeah, Jefferson kind of does get the ponder, doesn't he? Who did I end up giving it to? I can't even remember who got the ponder now. I'm blanking. But in a lot of ways, yeah, it's unfortunate. I hope this connection can happen because, yes, some of those plays still could have been made. Like 8 targets. Yeesh. So very frustrating indeed. With that, we'll take we're going to just about bid it to you here. I want to thank all of you so much for listening. Please do put a positive 5-star rating if you could on Apple Podcasts, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other apps that may allow you to review the show. Click like on the YouTube if you could, the YouTube videos, and subscribe to the page. Obviously, everything's free. There's no charge of any kind. Of course, no video this past week. Again, another late night thing, and I wanted to get into the podcast rather than do videos, and it's just kind of the way it is, unfortunately. So, wishing all of you the best here. We're heading deeper into Christmas season. Obviously, nothing in this world is easy. So, obviously, another long week of work, and not looking forward to it, but it is what it is. I'm hoping all of you have a wonderful work week as well. We'll be back to talk about the Vikings against the Giants, hoping McCarthy continues to show positive strides, and also please do stay healthy.